afterward. So welcome everybody. So everyone already has their camera on, which is awesome. Feel free to use the chat function at any point in time if there's something that you want to add, or if you guys want to just have a little side banter, or if you have any questions, just let me know. But today we are talking about motivation. So I want to hear a little bit from you guys. What does motivation mean to you? What does it feel like? What does it look like?
Sorry, they're sour.
I figured that's what your face was. Nathan, you look like you have an idea. Tell me what motivation means to you.
Oh, well, I guess I would say the desire to accomplish something. Maybe it's a certain goal or that you want to achieve.
Cool. All right. And when's the last time, we'll just kind of move into some different styles of questioning. When's the last time, Caitlin, I'll call on you next, where you felt really motivated? That might be a hard one, huh?
Which question am I answering?
When was the last time that you felt motivated? What did that
Last
look like?
night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What were you motivated to do?
To get my steps in,
Oh, okay. And why do you think you were motivated?
because there was music playing.
Oh, cute. I love that. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Excellent.
instead of trying to focus on walking a distance and getting my steps in and upsetting my lungs, I just kind of play a playlist and I dance to it now.
Oh, okay.
And I
I love
get
that.
my steps in and a good, upper body exercise movement from that.
Okay, a little perspective change. That's awesome. Perfect.
Yeah.
And Benson, I'm going to ask you the opposite question. When's the last time you had a hard time with motivation? Because I know you're a highly motivated individual.
Question. I feel like it's just any time that people around me aren't motivated. Like, it's kind of towards the end of school year, people really just didn't want to be there anymore, and I have a really hard time with that. When people don't want to work, I have such a hard. So
Does it
probably
like
that.
leak, like
It
almost
just
from
it
down
just
to
bothers
you?
me. There's almost just there's no one pushing me, and so
Mm.
it's I mean I can you can rely on yourself to push yourself, but after a while that gets hard, especially if there's 20 people on a team not wanting to do anything. That gets difficult. So probably that last towards the end of school year.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. Okay, cool. So that kind of leads into our next question is what usually allows you to be motivated? Where do you feel that inspiration comes from or however you want to think about it? This is just an open question, whoever wants to answer it.
I mean, for me, it's kind of the opposite of what I just said. Like, it's just anytime there's people that want to work, it really it just helps a ton.
Mhm.
That's been huge for me.
Cool. And like a little
Yeah,
bit of like being in that environment and having that community
yeah,
piece. Yeah, for sure.
100%. Yeah, people that yeah. Anytime there's people that are way better than me, I feel really motivated. So
I love
yeah,
that. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with the cheer network too, is I know that Nathan and Caitlin, you guys aren't technically cheerleaders, but the cheer network is to get like more people that are super driven like that so we can see each other and kind of inspire each other, you know what I mean? For sure. Nathan, what allows you to be motivated? Where does that come from?
Uh, well, I'd say one or two. Uh, if I It's like I know I have to do something, and there's no other choice. Or I have like a very specific goal in mind, or if I can see something's going to help me or others in the long term, I think that can be a motivation to mm, do something better.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, this is correct, or this is true for most people. It's definitely been true for me. If something is like you said, due, right? You have a deadline, something's
Yeah,
upcoming and it feels urgent. Sometimes you're going to be a little bit more motivated to do that thing than like the long term. Would you agree?
yeah. Sometimes it helps me at least. Some of my best work is at the last minute, I would say.
I remember I just saw a meme the other day that made me laugh. He said something like, I don't do well under pressure. I just panic efficiently. I was like, that's valid. I've definitely been there before. Caitlin, what about you? What keeps you motivated?
That is a hard one.
Mm.
'Cause not a lot does these days anymore. Um, may sound a little selfish, but the expectation of praise.
Oh, okay. Like a little love
I'm not,
language there? Words of
yeah,
affirmation? Okay.
I'm not really accustomed to receiving that. As you know, I have always performed on the lower end of things. So there are certain people who just constantly praise me for this or that, and that's kind of been my motivation to continue to try.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. An attaboy never hurts, right?
Exactly.
Okay, excellent. So that actually leads perfectly again into our next subject. So one of the things that we're going to talk about today is this idea of locus of control. Raise your hand if you've heard of that before. Caitlin, anyone else? Okay. Caitlin, you want to define it for us?
Nope.
No. Okay, I tried. That's okay. So think of locus of control as a spectrum. So if you imagine like a gauge of gas on your car, so one end is going to be internal locus of control. These are going to be things that you can have 100% control over in your life, things that you decide, and like that's what happens, right? And then the other end of the spectrum is going to be our external locus of control. You have no control over it. This is all outside factors. And the only thing that you can really control is like how you react to it, right? So internal to external. And along that line is a myriad of different scenarios and different pieces that we can take advantage of in order to make sure that we are doing everything in our power to still make sure that we have motivation. I'm going to use that word lightly because we know that motivation is weaning, right? But motivation to be able to do whatever our goal is, whatever we set forth, whatever that expectation is, right? So next thing we're going to do is look at some examples of internal versus external locus of control. So Nathan, what is something that you feel like you have 100% control over in your life right now?
Oh, not much, but
It can be something small.
no, I'm kidding. Well, I mean, I guess I would say something is I have pretty much 100% control of what I eat and when how much I sleep. So
Yeah.
not getting enough sleep is an option.
Okay.
Or I mean, over the long term, some nights there things come up, but yeah, and choosing what I eat, I would say.
Okay, cool. So let's use that example for everyone for a second. We have 100% control over what we eat, right? Is what you're saying. And we'll say that's generally true. Obviously, there's exceptions to that. So if we have 100% control over what we eat, raise your hand if you eat perfectly 100% of the time. Probably not, right? Like, it just doesn't happen. So where is that gap? Why do we think that that happens even though we have control over it?
I don't know. I think convenience for me is the biggest thing, just because oftentimes the not healthy option is the most convenient. So.
And convenience can technically be an external factor, right? That's something that's influencing that decision, right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And especially if you're busy. The busier you are, the more convenient you want it to be, right?
I'm sorry, I missed that. I don't know what you said. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. I said the busier you are, the more convenient you typically want it to be, right?
That is yes, I can attest to that.
Yes. So let's say external locus of control. What are some reasons that might come into play? We just said having a busy schedule. What are some other reasons that might come into play that would make it difficult for you to eat the way that you think that you should?
Finances.
Okay, great.
I'm on my way home and Taco Bell looks really good.
Okay, they have awesome advertising. They're a well-known name, right? Any other reasons, Benson? Maybe one more of some
I was
reason that's
yeah,
external that you might not be able to
I was just gonna
100%
say
control.
fine. Yeah, I was just thinking finances too. I'm
Okay.
not sure what else. I mean, maybe people. I mean, if someone's eating unhealthy, you might get that same craving, but it
Yeah.
doesn't
Kind
really
of like
happen to
that same
me.
influence from other people not wanting to work hard at practice, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. So now that we have our external, basically what we want to do is try to see if we can shift it down the spectrum just a little bit. So let's use each of those examples. Caitlin, you said finances first, so I'll have you use that one. Even though you feel like finances are an external factor, what is something that you can do to maybe still improve your diet, even if you don't feel like you have a lot of money?
Alternatives.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, right now the price of turkey and chicken is ridiculous. Like beyond ridiculous. So an alternative, though it may not be necessarily better for my particular case, an alternative is to get beef, which is still at the cheaper pricing.
Okay, absolutely. So finding different options, that's a great one. Nathan, you said maybe advertising and like seeing something that looks good. How do we bring that from the external closer to internal?
Well, for me, maybe having something available all the time at home that will, I mean, a meal that's easily available might make it easier to choose that than uh, fast food or something.
Yeah.
You
So
mean
tell
like
me a little
meal
bit.
prep?
Yeah, well, either meal prep or just have things always available that I know I could uh, make a meal really quick.
Cool. So tell me a little bit about like your inner dialogue. Let's say that you're driving home, you see Taco Bell, you're like, that looks good, but you've already prepared. What does that sound like in your head?
Oh, well, I'll probably be thinking about a spicy potato taco and maybe a crunch wrap. And
Uh-huh.
then if I have something at home, I might think, oh, well, that will more fit what I want to eat for the day if I have something prepared, I guess. And I can't guarantee it's going to win, but at least it's there and easy.
It like gives you one less barrier, right? Because you're
Yeah,
like, it's not like I don't have food at home, right?
yeah.
Yeah, cool. I love that. Awesome. Benson, what about people around you eating something that maybe isn't in line with what you want to eat?
I don't know, self-control, honestly. Uh,
Okay.
you bring snacks along, depending on the activity, that might help. Um, but really just saying no and getting the healthier alternative. I think it might not work for everyone, but usually works for me. So
Yeah, cool. Perfect. And so one of the other things that I wanted to talk about, this will be the last like main subject that we talk about, is this idea of dichotomous thinking. It's a big fancy word for saying black and white thinking. So if we take our same example, let's talk about food. What's a healthy food? Just throwing out there.
Chicken.
Did you say veggies?
yeah, I said vegetables. Yep,
Yeah,
you're right.
chicken. Nathan?
Uh, Apple.
Okay, awesome. What's an unhealthy food?
Candy.
Okay,
I'd go with the donut.
okay,
Mochi.
okay. Lots of desserts. So, what is the danger of putting them in these two categories?
You, you can't categorize everything black and white, maybe.
Okay, and what do you mean by that?
I'm sure there's some foods that it's just moderation. Like if you eat a small amount, it'll be good for you. But if you eat too much, not anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. What other reasons?
If you categorize something as bad, then you will always think of it as bad. And if you categorize something as good, you will always think of it as good. Having that black and white has a way of controlling your life. So if you determine that, say, dried fruit versus regular fruit, right? If you determine that dried fruit is a bad thing because most of it has added sugar, well, then you hit the point where you're like, oh, well, I have dried fruit, I don't have regular fruit, so I'm just going to go without. And that's worse for you to go without than it is for you to have an alternative that may have a little bit of added sugar into it versus nothing at all.
Yeah, love that. Absolutely. Nathan, do you have another comment or do you want me to give you another example?
I forgot what I was going to say, so maybe another example.
Yeah. So let's shift it to another healthy, right? So that's always those tricky words where you're like, okay, I don't really want to use it that much. But let's shift to another part of, making sure that you're living a good lifestyle is going to be working out, right? So let's say dichotomous thinking is my plan is to work out 4 times this week. I miss one day. Well, that's it. Guess I don't have to work out the rest of the week. And I know that sounds dramatic, but like we've all been there, right? Like, oh, I'm sick and I don't feel like it. I'm just not going to work out for the rest of the week. Yes?
Yeah.
Nathan, have you had that happen to you before?
Yeah, definitely. And I guess what I realized is because I always wanted to have a perfect schedule, whatever that is. I don't know, but
Right?
if I missed one, I used to be a little harder on myself, but I realized that the main thing is just to do something the next day or as soon as you can. Just keep going, even if it's not what you want.
Absolutely. One of the concepts that I talk to my clients about is we call it the better than nothing principle. Like at least you did something. Better than nothing, right? And sometimes that needs to be enough, just depending on how your day's going, how your body's feeling, where your energy is, right? So there's a lot of times where I've experienced that too, where I'm super exhausted. Maybe I didn't get a good night of sleep, and so I'll walk instead of work out. And I have to be okay with that because otherwise you're just going to beat yourself up and perpetuate, right?
Yeah, and I think even like even with 10 minutes, you can do something challenging like push-ups or uh, a jog or something.
Yeah.
I realized I don't always need to have an hour to do whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah. An ideal doesn't always have to match exactly what we do because we're not all going to be at 100% every single day, right? Like that's asking probably way too much of ourselves. That's like asking you to be perfect, which is impossible, really. I don't know. You know what I mean? Anyone else feel that way?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like one of the big things that I learned recently is I get shin splints often, or not super often, but when you really get into training, shin splints happen. And so on the off days, instead of running, I'll do like biking or something like that that takes the weight off, but still same effect.
Yeah. And if you were doing dichotomous thinking, you could easily be like, oh, my shins hurt. I'm just not going to do
Right.
cardio or I don't have any other choice,
Yeah.
right? So that's a really good way of using your resources for sure. So there's an underlying theme here, and I don't know if you guys can necessarily pull it out. Maybe I can ask a couple questions to see if we can think of it together. But the underlying theme that I'm hearing is like, okay, I didn't do this, but I can do that. I'm not going to beat myself up for that, but I'm going to do this instead. So what is the biggest thing that you think is going to allow us to maintain our momentum and or motivation, if you want to call it that, over a long period of time? Because we're all in for the long haul, right? This is general life. We're really trying to make sure that we're like good to go way past sports, way past, our working career. What is going to allow you to keep that motivation and to keep driving toward whatever your goal is at that time?
Healthy habits.
Habits. Okay. That's a great one.
This isn't too specific, but just being fluid. Like life happens, things happen, and just kind of taking whatever happens and moving on, reevaluating, taking a step back, reevaluate, and then go back again.
Nice. That's a really good word, fluid. Love that. Nathan, any other comments?
I guess I'll just say, and I'm kind of more just thinking like with health and fitness here, but like, why are you doing this? Like this exercise or this workout or eating these meals, and what's the benefit versus the cost of doing all this, and is it worth it, or is there something I could do differently?
Awesome. Kind of like addressing the why, right? The reason behind it.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to address why am I actually doing this at all?
Yeah.
Hopefully, I
Absolutely.
think there has to be something that's a goal or a benefit to really have long-term desire to keep doing it.
Yeah, agreed. Because why would you keep doing something that's not going to benefit you in the long run, right?
Yeah, unless you're just having really a lot of fun doing
And
the
that's a
workouts.
valid point because a lot of people do things that it's almost like an absence of doing. Do you know what I mean? Like life can happen if you don't do anything, but life will happen to you. You're not making life happen. Do you know what I mean by that? Like how many times have you been like just stuck in a rut? 6 months go by and you're like, ooh, I didn't do anything of significance. Or I'm still at that same job, or I'm still working on this skill and it's been this long, right? Because you weren't necessarily an active agent, right? So that can definitely happen, absolutely. So to combine the three of what you just said, I love that. So habits, doing something consistently, even if you don't feel like you want to. Because why? Because we know that in the long term, in the long run, this is going to be helpful for our big goals, right? And then for you is being able to roll with the punches. And like, it's not going to happen perfectly. Recognize that it's not going to happen perfectly and just kind of keep going, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Excellent. Okay, cool, perfect. So just so that you guys know kind of what we're going into in the next few days, I'm going to show you this little, I drew this, so sorry it's a little crazy. But this is the 6 pillars of health that I work with my clients on. And what we do is the bottom 3, mindset, nutrition, and fitness, are our foundations. That's where like if we can get these 3 in order, everything else is going to kind of start to fall into place and we can really worry about that. But that's the like 3 foundational things that we really need to focus on: mindset, nutrition, and fitness. So that's the same order that we're going to do our workshops into. So today we talked about motivation, so that's our mindset topic. We're going to talk about nutrition tomorrow, fitness the next day, and then we're going to check in a little bit on sleep and stress. But that's kind of the idea, is these building blocks almost, right? Being able to make sure that we have a really strong foundation to keep growing on top of, so that we can worry about all that extra stuff once we've got like our basics in line, right? Awesome. Cool. Okay. So we're just going to do a couple takeaways real quick before we head out, and then we'll have our nutrition topic tomorrow. If I can get one from each of you, since there's only 3, we'll just bing, bang, lightning round. Caitlin, what was a takeaway for you?
To remember the big words.
What do you mean?
Dichotomous.
Oh.
Dichotomous thinking.
That's the fancy word. You don't need to know that one. I'll learn that in black and white.
Yeah. I guess to just continue to accept that I am doing my best day by day, even if it's not exactly what we're aiming for. Even if I'm not meeting my goal, that's no reason to give up as a whole.
Cool. Love that. Nathan?
I'd agree with that as well. And I guess I'd add, I like the visual that you just showed of mindset at the bottom. I'd never really seen that or thought of it that way.
Yeah, because
Or
if
as
we
a
can change
pillar,
the
I
way
guess.
that we think about things, right, then we can change our approach and be more effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Vincent?
Good question. Just continuing to always strive for the next hardest thing, like around people, especially getting to the next hardest room with the hardest, better people,
Yeah.
and staying fluid. Whatever happens, but kind of keep that goal.
Yeah. And that's an interesting point too. So we talked about like our locus of control, internal, external.
Mhm.
External locus of control being those people that are around you, but your internal locus of control, bringing it closer to that, is you can control who's around you, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like you can put yourself in that room with the big people, right?
100%.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Okay, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. Again, just a short little workshop just to go over a couple of things. So hopefully you can take this into the challenges over the next couple of days. And hopefully I'll see y'all tomorrow for our nutrition topic.
Awesome.
All right.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
you probably won't see me. I'll be on an airplane, but it was
Oh,
nice
yes.
meeting you all.
Safe travels. Oh, when are
Yeah,
tryouts?
thank you.
Friday, Saturday, or?
Yeah. So Friday is just practice. So Saturday, Sunday will be tryouts.
Okay.
So
Awesome. All right.
yeah.
Excited to hear.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks
Have a
so
good
much.
one.
Talk to you soon.